Good morning, and thank you for joining us today for the fourth part of our Boomerang Recovery Solutions webinar series. This one is focusing on Boomerang Total Recall. For those of you who are not familiar with Fandotech, Fandotech is a technology solutions provider with offices in Manchester, Connecticut, West Springfield, Massachusetts, and Trumbull, Connecticut, serving Fairfield County. We have four distinct lines of our business: the data center, professional services, solution development, and managed IT. To start with, I'll tell you a little bit about our data center services. Fuss & O'Neill Technologies, Fandotech, has 3 data centers located in Manchester, Connecticut today. Those data centers are SAS 70 Type 2 certified data centers. We've gone through this process of being audited for our process and controls, and then following up, which got us our Type 1 certification, and then following up with a true measurement of those controls to make sure that they can be implemented and adhered to in a time of crisis. So in doing that, we achieved our SAS 70 Type 2. And additionally, what that means for a client is the peace of mind of understanding that you are now in a data center that adheres to all major regulatory compliance acts like GLB, HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley, to name a few, and provides you with the security and safeguard of your data that you would require. From that data center, we have a few different services that we provide. We provide what we call as our 360 ITV line. That's virtual private servers. Think of that as being based on as a utility computing model where we provide you infrastructure and applications as a service. This is something that a lot of clients are doing in advance of having to make a capital expenditure on new infrastructure. If they can our grid computing model to bring them the services that they need to run their office without having to outlay the capital expense. Additionally, we provide hosting services. This would include email and web hosting services, co-location, which is allowing you to bring your assets into our data center and enjoy the redundancies and security that I spoke of earlier. And to date, since 2002, our data centers have 99.998% uptime, and I can absolutely say within the last 12 months there's been 100% uptime of all data centers. Our solutions development team brings together some of the more web-centric programs that our clients are using today. We can help you with a web presence if you're looking for that, so this could be as simple as a very static website to a content-managed website where you're able to upload and add your own information as you see fit. So you get a shell of your website, but you're able to add content without having to come to us, the professional, up there for. We also provide full turnkey e-commerce solutions. We have a client that actually has all orders placed on their website. Those orders are then verified and processed by the credit card company, and then the order is sent to their fulfillment house that then provides the product and takes shipment. The client itself basically sits back and just gets a bank statement and a list of all materials that were sold each month. Professional services. This is our traditional network integration and systems integration area. These are the true consulting professionals that come out on your site and help you with network design and architecture, basically help you plan and roadmap your technology environment, and then provide the services that will need to be implemented in order to achieve your business goals. It could be things like server virtualization, doing a network assessment in advance of putting out voice over IP services, or adding new users onto your network, security baseline audits, or just traditional new server routers and firewalls. That's our professional services group. And then our last group that I'd like to talk about before we get into the Boomerang Recovery Services is our managed IT department. As you can see, our flagship products there are the 180 IT, the 360 IT, and then the Boomerang Recovery Solutions that we've been talking about during this webinar series. 180 IT is your outsourced virtual IT staff style model for small to mid-sized business customers. Basically, in this, we provide you the full depth of a Fortune 500 bench, so we've got multiple resources that we can provide to you, carrying varied industry certifications. And you get that for a fixed monthly fee, so you know exactly what you're going to be spending on IT support during a given year. The fee is charged monthly, and it is in line. It's an asset-based pricing, so the more assets you have in your environment, the more that you're going to pay. The less assets you have, the less you're going to pay. But the bottom line is you'll always know what you're going to pay because you know what each asset costs. 360 is the same program, but in this we actually provide you the hardware, which allows you to move those assets off balance sheet and avoid depreciation and some of the financial issues that that you can run into as a small and growing company. Now, both of those services can also be provided to larger end organizations. In most cases, we find ourselves taking a specific technology off their hands and doing that, i.e. maybe a larger company doesn't want to retain any Cisco professionals because the Cisco assets rarely break. That's where you can put in a 180 contract in to support your Cisco assets. Make sure that you have fully certified engineers to assist you when there is a problem, but again, you don't have to necessarily carry staff in order to do so. So let's move on to the Boomerang recovery solutions. So for those of you that have been on this series to date, you know that we've talked about a couple different things. We've talked about disaster recovery and business continuity, and on this slide here, we talk a little bit about conditions here. As we've talked about before, disaster recovery is the ability to bring your data back in the case of an event, so that could be a hardware failure or a physical loss. Business continuity is the process or procedure to keep you working during those disaster events. And a disaster event or loss touches every aspect of the organization. So, you know, a lot of people are thinking very much about IT and their IT assets when talking to us about our Boomerang recovery solutions. But the reality is, if your data is unavailable, every person in your organization gets impacted. Human resources, operations, information technology, just to name a few. But the reality is, pretty much every function in this day and age requires availability of the network. So what are the threats that face a business today? Well, there's a few different kinds. We've got natural, man-made, and technical threats. Natural threats, fire, flood, events are pretty much out of our hands. If they happen, we need to be prepared to address them, but again, there's no real timetable for when an event like that can happen. It takes us much more by surprise. Man-made, while it can take us by surprise, these are definitely things that happen maliciously in most cases: arson, vandalism, terrorism, to name a few. And these can be, these can usually lead a little bit more into physical disaster or security breaches as it relates to business continuity and disaster recovery. And of course, the technical side, this is certainly a little bit more of a system onset issue. Data corruption, power loss, telecom loss, these are issues that hit us technically. Each one of these are a disaster event, but each one of these also could have a continuity plan in place to help overcome. So what are the key areas of disaster recovery? Well, first you need to make sure that you have a disaster recovery plan, and I'm sure if you're attending this web conference, good chance is one of the things that's on your mind right now. And then you may be also working on a business process continuity plan, or contingency plan, BPCP. Basically, these plans assist you in how you deal with these disasters when a problem arises and how to get back to normal operations as quickly as possible. And then when you test out these plans, you're going to find out the challenges that you're going to have, because there is no perfect plan, but when a situation arises, how to prevent as many operational interruptions as possible. So when we talk about disaster recovery management, we're talking about the ongoing management of a DRP. And the way you do that is making sure that you've got a process or service in place that can be regularly reviewed, tested at least twice annually, because again, as I mentioned a few moments ago, there is no perfect continuity plan. So each time you test, you're going to see where the holes in the games are and be able to address those holes and evaluate those test results, and then, of course, make the necessary changes. So a recovery management plan and testing is key to making a successful recovery and continuity plan.